Hey Gay, this is Israel from Dragula. Let's give you a tour of the house. Come on in. Should start with the art station. This is where I make a lot of my crafts. I make jewelry, I paint, I sculpt. Right now I am working on some taxidermy pieces. This eventually will be gold leafed and covered in beetle shell, and this also will be gold leafed. The bottom jaw will be covered in a sculpted epoxy clay. Sometimes I like to take inspiration from things, and some of this stuff is things that can or will sometimes give me inspiration. I take a lot of things from dreams, and this represents dreams to me. This little dunny is actually a witchy dunny, and I found it and I thought it was pretty rad, so I put it up on the altar. It's not a legitimate altar, but it kind of started becoming one, or at least looks like one. This is actually, it belonged to my grandmother, and this man that was madly in love with her actually sculpted it for her. And I kind of just held on to it because it meant so much to her. So it means a lot to me. So follow me and we're gonna show you more of the house. So I tend to do a lot of things subconsciously, and this didn't intend to be an altar, but as time has progressed, it has become pretty much an altar to Hecate, as a matter of fact. Hecate is a part of the Greek pantheon. She is the goddess of witches, the mother of all witches. She represents the mother, the maiden, and the crone. So I tend to read a lot, and I'm obsessed kind of with real, actual books. So over the years, I've collected quite a bit of books. I would say I've read about 95% of the collection. I am a little obsessed with art toys. So this collection will switch out every so often. I have a huge collection inside a warehouse that I will rotate in and out. Some of my favorite pieces here are the Jason Freeney pieces. So Jason Freeney is an artist who tends to take iconic pieces like this My Little Pony, and he does anatomical internal structures as if the creature would actually have internal working organs. Are actually puzzles. You have to put them together, and this is an anatomical gummy bear, which I thought was super rad. I actually have an idea to do something with these at some point, just haven't gotten to it. This is actually one of my favorite pieces in the house. It was stupidly expensive, but I had to have it. I found it originally at Body Shop, and unfortunately they don't exist anymore, and I couldn't get it there. So I had to hunt online to find one. So, as I mentioned before, lion dogs are traditionally placed in front of a temple to ward off evil spirits. I had placed these two within the entrance of the rest of the house, the room in particular, and these I acquired in an estate sale. I don't really actually know how old they are, but they're pretty old, and I think originally they were in a garden, but now they just adorn my house. So let's see a little more of the house. Unintentionally, but over time, this has become the miniature art gallery. A lot of these pieces mean quite a bit to me, and some of these pieces are actually family heirlooms. This was my grandmother's. It is from the 1800s. My grandfather actually found it in pieces, and he actually assembled it back together himself. Originally, it was this color, the whole thing, and it was done in my grandmother's taste, which was awful. Exposed arms are what I did. She had them completely covered. This was completely covered. All this detail was covered, so I never knew any of that existed. I had it stained in a different color for my aesthetic, obviously, and I found this beautiful fabric from this company called House of Hackney, and this is called Artemis. and I fell in love with the fabric and thought this would be perfect for the bench. One of my favorite pieces on this wall is actually a family photo. So this is a photo of my great Aunt Mary. Aunt Mary tended to dress like a man quite often in the early 1920s. Quite a few photos of her dressed as a man. And in this photo, she is dressed as a man kissing a girl with somebody dressed as the devil behind them, which even if it wasn't a family photo, would be pretty rad. But the fact that it is a family photo makes it even more amazing to me. This piece I actually got in a gallery showing. The cool part about this is that she paints on old book covers, and I didn't want to miss that, so I made sure that they didn't cover the back so you could see that it was actually a book. This piece right here is actually one of my favorite pieces. I am kind of obsessed with this artist. He's a queer artist in Hawaii, and he makes amazing ceramics. And I have been dying for one of his pieces, and I've kind of been fixated on rabbits as of lately, and he had this and I just had to have it. This is one of my favorite pieces in the house. It's done by an artist named Micah Perry, who lives here in Los Angeles, a local queer artist, and me and Micah have been friends for quite some time. And he painted this beautiful piece of a serpent, and I kind of was obsessed with it, so I had to buy it off him, and I edited it a little bit, which Micah did not like so much, but it was too big of a canvas and it was in a different frame. So I had it restretched on a smaller canvas, and I picked a more befitting frame, I believe, for it, because it actually brings out the scaling of the serpent. I think some of you might know about the urban legend of the Mothman, but the artist in Spain will do different creatures, and this one I was kind of obsessed with, and it took quite some time for him to make these pieces, and as soon as one was available, I got one. So on this wall in particular, there's quite a few pieces that actually mean a lot to me. Another piece from Micah Perry, again, another piece that I altered a little bit. He's not very happy at me for altering some of his pieces, but I honestly felt like I brought the detail of his work out more. It didn't have a glaze on it originally. So it was kind of more matted, and I feel like the glaze brought more of the detail of the painting out, and the sides just had nothing really on them. So I kind of finished it by doing a gold leafing on the sides to make it a little more presentable. I'm kind of obsessed with taxidermy. These pieces right here are actually from a really famous artist. He was actually easy to get at one time, but now he's not. His name is Christopher Marley. He has pieces that are in the Smithsonian. This is not a representation of like the stuff he does. He does really elaborate, huge, beautiful pieces that are very expensive, but I managed to get some of his pieces. I love them. So these, he has the indigenous people collect them from the forest, and he pays them to do that. That way they preserve the forest instead of chopping it down to, let's say, do another farm of dairy or something where we're losing our ecosystem. So it's kind of important what he does with that. For these pieces, this in particular, this would be a reclamation. He doesn't kill any of the animals for the artwork. So this naturally expired, and then he created a piece. This is actually a photograph of my mother. I think she's about 15 in the photo, but I thought it was a pretty rad photo regardless of it being my mom, and she's holding a black rabbit. So I thought that was very befitting for my house. Well, thank you so much for taking a tour of my house. I'm sure all of you have a lot of questions, and if you would like to see more of the house, just let us know.